Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to our continuing coverage here at Psifest 2023 with the International Remote Viewing Association and the Monroe Institute. We are so happy to be here as not only a sponsor, but a participant interviewing folks. While we were here, one of the vendors who is sharing some stuff is Yaw, and he is with Carbonic Truth. This is a pretty incredible thought form that you have. Let's start getting into this, because one of the things I've talked about frequently over the last year is the recent Nobel Prize for quantum entanglement. The idea that two particles, despite distance, can influence each other. I mean, a particle in the moon could be influencing me right now. So the idea that you have of literally the carbon that we exhale having our vibration in it is pretty fascinating. Tell us a little bit about how you came to this and what it's all about.
Well, yes, my name is Yaw, which means my name is a mirror reflecting the truth of who you are. And who you are is always the extent of what we can learn about others. So in that sentiment, this idea of carbonic truth is eliminating time and space, and illuminating instead as a timeless finished. No need to finish anything, as a timeless finished. There's nothing after that. Timeless being, timeless. This is timeless, this finished. Now, this idea of arriving to this timeless, finished, silence, after, is when carbon is redeemed. Because currently, carbon is a truth keeper, truth of information. Because as we exhale, the carbon is a platform where each of our cells have transformed oxygen into carbon. The function of each cell is to express, by resonance, its healing and its interrelatedness to the surrounding organs and other cells. Well, for that function to be on time and operating in that ceaselessness, we need to die and be rekindled. So carbon facilitates the information before death. In other words, whether you know it or not, whether you believe it or not, each time you exhale, each time we exhale, we are dying to its fullest termination of oblivion. And carbon extracts that information through the algorithm generator of the heart, kindling you as information on carbon, inscribing you based on the resonance and communication occurring through this exchange and this electromagnetic field, orienting itself in a way that it can imprint on the carbon as a platform. By the way, carbon is a hexagon, and it's very unique in nature because its hexagon shape can dispense and receive energy at 6 temperament. Other atomic structures, they have, just like this house, dispenses energy of heat equally around its walls. Carbon is one of the unique features in the universe that allows 6 different temperament, both in receiving and in dispatching. So a bank is as good as its trust with other people's money, so to speak. A carbon is as good as the illumination of your truth as a dying sequence, no longer beyond this, entering the void, inscribing in the fullest information relevant to universe, by the way. It's very personality-less, of course. So now, that is why we call that, whether you know it or not, you're being kindled by the next palpitation of the electromagnetic field by your heart in the outside through the carbon, and the carbon that came from your inside, even though it was one atom of cell and one cell and one molecule to one molecule, now that it's out through its interconnectivity, it connects with all of your resonance of all your cells, as well as all your without, all the interplayness around you. So now you have one atom of carbon holding allness, as information available for kindling. That's how your heart's next electromagnetic palpitation emanates a radius, and this radius is algorithmically designed to kindle the relevant information, and that's why carbon is a good dispenser, because it can release energy and release your emanated truth based on a next resolve. So it's algorithmically kindled in a way for your immediate full result from the karmic entanglement, if you're there to receive it. Unfortunately, we're not. We're too deep in the matrix. So what happens, we only are given our own truth to the extent we're able to receive it. So this interplay goes until one day, the capacity to shut the perception off in some ways, so that you can no longer perceive separation. And then carbon can be redeemed at that point, which means, it will end all karma in the sense of your proximity to it or your entanglement to it. Sorry if I went without a pause.
No, absolutely. Because once again, I like letting people go because, A, you get the full thought form without being interrupted. B, there is a lot to digest in that. And the concept, number one, of carbon holding information, fully founded. Like, I don't know of anything that we find that we don't try to give a carbon-14 test to find out what environment it was in. It tells us everything about the environment, diet, like all kinds of things. The age of it, the age of when it ceased to be. And that's pretty remarkable. And once again, to know that, to take that one step further and talk about living carbon in that way, and the fact that when we exhale carbon dioxide, that we are actually being reborn with each breath.
We are being reassembled by the photonic dance that occurs by the music of the heart. Music of the heart is reference to an algorithm machine that is here to be the passport agency between death and rekindling. It introduces you cellularly to the cosmos in your path of death 8 times a minute. And then the heart, as a generator of truth, electromagnetically gets the next pulsation, kindling your carbonic vibration or your carbonic truth as information. Carbon itself is just a platform. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
It's the 4th element after the Big Bang, but it's the first element that is non-metallic. So it doesn't erode, it doesn't corrupt. I am metallic. I rust, I die. Carbon is a good trustee. It's not prone to that, right? So what happens now that the heart is in a dance between being and non-being, now that the heart has learned to be algorithmically kindling a death and reinterpreting a vibration, who comes to the rescue? Water. Water of the cornea of your eyes, they are inversive. Water is inversive, which means it's shapeless, but it holds inversely all shapes and all shapeables, because it's inversely has a memory of all. So the kindling of the heart's electromagnetic, with cooperation of the proteins and the enzymes in the inversive water of cornea, which is the communication to the physiologic, you will be rekindled back to life as perception perceives you. And the mind doesn't allow you to see death, so it will continue to feed you the perception of, hey, there's a life and there's a ticket. The next breath, let's watch to the cinema. Let's go to the cinema.
Yeah, and now, when it comes to the idea of non-local consciousness, how this relates to remote viewing, things like that, how do our carbon atoms that we are exhaling and expelling interact with the rest of the world? How do can we still interact with those?
It's not a matter of interaction. It never is. It's a matter of wakefulness. It's a matter of waking to what is. And a remote viewer or a person interested in accessing information, so to speak, at any plateau, is well served to get acquainted to the fullness of the information that is carbonically through their own exhale available. Because remember, a remote viewer or a person actively connecting to a subject or connecting to information in its tactfulness, what is this person essentially accessing? Is accessing information. Where do you access this information? Is there an absolute information? Yes, it's through carbon. And is that person already vibrating the truth of that tactfulness of that information by simply having been hired, having been contacted, having been reviewing this through their talent and their perception, their intuition? Do they already have that vibration of tactfulness of that information? The answer is yes. So how do you access it? What is the best source of accessing it? The best source of accessing it, if there is one that is idealist, conceptless, philosophyless, without any religion or any kind of ideology, what would be? That might be the most kosher and immovable piece. What is that? It's so immovable that the neutrons of the atom have essentially are drunk in the bar. And if there's no neutron, if the neutron is cosmically drunk, then you're able to access your pre-actualization of that matter. If you access that, then all actualized matter is there.
Sure.
So therefore, you don't need, it's no matter about accessing, it's a matter of, where is the absolute information of all the days that have passed and all the days that have not yet come, and what is my interrelationship to that allness? It's on carbon. And again, this idea, hashtag immovable peace, because this immovable peace. Now, I also propose this, if I may. Can I say another thing?
Sure.
Without, so here's the thing. We are all aware of the one constant, speed of light.
Yep.
We build our own understanding of the universe we live in based on that foundation. In fact, that's the only foundation that we know from the beginning to this day hasn't changed, which is this idea that the speed of light is this, and whatever it is never going to change, okay? I'm here to tell you there's a second constant. Which makes this the constant that Einstein gave us actually the second, because I'm here to tell you that there is a constant more in front of our eyes, more available, more true. And the constant that is more available to us is the intensity, the intensity of a photon to return back to the immovable peace, to pre-existence of actualized matter, is constant. In other words, this speaker, as a light, as a photon that has traveled eons and eons and have come to evolve to what it is at this point, is able, no matter how much time the photon at the speed of its constant has traveled, it's able to go back to that immovable piece, to the location, so to speak, because it's not a removing, it's not a returning, it's a wakefulness. The intensity to awake to the fact that you are still in non-actualized matter is constant. That's right in front of us. When we access that, we don't lose our actualization of who we are. We just realize that we are the move, never the movement.
Yeah. Well, and if you look back to early science that we all learned in school, we probably recall the fact that we're all 90% empty space to begin with. The idea that this table is actively real is kind of funny. It's really much more of an agreed upon illusion. And like Lynn Buchanan said at breakfast this morning, it's not only that it's an agreed upon illusion, but it's, do we need the table? And not just that, but does the table need us? And that's pretty wild when you start quantally thinking about that in that philosophic way, because yes, we are all intertwined. And like you're saying, our carbon, when it exhales from us, is literally us. It is carrying our frequency. It's carrying everything, which makes us up at that moment. So to know that tomorrow the carbon that I expel will not be the same carbon at all because it's not me. It is me. I'm just a different me now, because things have changed, things have moved forward. But the one thing that is constant is the fact that, like you're saying, my light of being here and being in this agreed upon illusion is faster than the speed of light. Exactly. And it's pretty remarkable to think about that, because yeah, it is all the speed of thought. That's quite literally what this whole conference is about the idea of non-local consciousness, the idea that we can exist in numerous places at the same time.
Yes.
And how did you come about this information? How was this information revealed to you? How did you come to this hypothesis?
I have been doing a lot of meditation, soul searching. There are obviously prerequisite path that the path itself lays out for you. I'm not here to say there is a path to follow. No, I'm here to say that the path will always lay itself in front of your feet if you're willing to walk, if you're a seeker to the higher sentiments and essence of who you are. So in that sense, I was blessed with a situation where I can only describe as a termination. It's beyond death. It's termination. This is a place where there is no more reincarnation. Okay, it is completely termination. And through that termination, a rebirth of some sort, with the same harmony of the termination procession, rekindled this atomic vehicle. I call this at this point a diamond biovehicle.
Yeah, right?
Because before I am tuned into my human frequency at this point, and any point of my noticing and wakefulness, I am aware to the fact that I am a vehicle, a biological vehicle, and I'm carrying carbon because I'm transporting carbon and oxygen, I'm transforming them. And the heart is the music between the cosmos. The real dance is between oxygen and carbon. If you look back, even our evolutionary progress, it's always been between, as far as our essence of knowing who this essence is this dance. And the heart's the music, right? So when you reduce yourself to that, suddenly you embrace death. Suddenly death defines life. So suddenly you become that. So in a sense, I can say through that experience, this rekindling brought me aware, because I was able to notice myself manifesting in the exterior of physical limitation. And I didn't want to adhere to ideas, philosophies. I had already studied them. So I became a seeker as to what allows me to manifest in the exterior. I was able to manifest on the actual air that traveled through my own lungs. So I've been inside of my own chest. The mansions and so forth I can describe with detail. I've manifested. So I'm like, how does this happen? And then I, through the seeking process, was able to essentially integrate the Akashic file that has already, through termination process, through core crossing over, had already bestowed. So through that process, I came to recognize that actually the non-ideology, non-philosophy thing that I've been searching is very much it's a gas. It's primordial.
Yeah.
And the carbon suddenly illuminated, and now I am now a frequent carbon illumination traveler, so to speak, and the multiverse. So essentially, when you realize that, what's the difference between a diamond and a charcoal? The difference.
Time and pressure.
Exactly.
Time and pressure.
When you're in the
nothing else.
When you're in the matrix, but when you exit the matrix, when you deny the matrix, what would be the difference? Wakefulness.
Yeah.
So if you awake to the fact that the carbon dioxide is actually diamond dioxide, okay?
Sure.
And what does diamond do? Pure diamond doesn't steal heat. The light travels, let's 100%, everything, every other atom steals a measure of heat, a measure of light for its own resonance, its own spark,
That's
so
true.
to speak.
Yeah.
But pure carbon doesn't. Now imagine if every time you purely consider the carbonic diamond biovehicle that you are,
Yeah.
you then, in a way, denying the matrix. And in that denial, some space opens, and that space always gets filled with consciousness, and that consciousness orients you to the truth, and that's how any constellation works.
Well, and I'm even the concept that this hypothesis is tied to your breath, like I was saying earlier. So many things when it comes to meditation, connection, oneness. The big movement right now is people trying to find their zen, I guess. And yeah, it all comes down to breath. It all comes down to controlling your breath, being focused on your breath, and actively taking part in that process. One of the things that we've talked about a couple times on this show today is the idea that we go through most of our life in an auto-programmed state. Our body doesn't think. Like, our brain thinks about things, but it would much rather think about things than actively do something. So it autonomically breathes for you. We take advantage of that, but the problem is by not focusing on that, we're missing something of ourselves, and we are letting an intrinsic part of ourself go without consideration. And even the idea of being present in the moment and focusing on the now, that starts with noticing that you're breathing. Notice you're here, notice you're now.
Yes, and I may invite your listeners to focus on aspect of a breathing in particular, which is the aspect that they own. The part of the breath that we truly own is the exhale. We have no idea if the next inhale actually comes. We also are usually completely in procession of some sort of a matrix we call life during the between the inhale and the exhale. So you're still missing out on the truth of who you are. So now what does it leave us with? It leaves you with the out breath. If you were to tell me you're about to vanish and you're never going to even be seen, you're going to vanish from this earth, you're going to die, give me your last possession. The only possession that I truly would have would be my last exhale, right? Now, I have to remember my exhale is CO2, which means 80%. I'm now breathing 99% saturated oxygen. I'm using 19%. I'm returning 81% oxygen along with 19% carbon that I transferred it and used it.
Yeah.
You're breathing my oxygen.
Yeah.
If I'm inflating these oxygen because I'm stressed, I'm anxious about tomorrow, I'm poisoning your oxygen. It's not a matter of whether I believe your ideas or concepts. It's a matter of, our vibration gets imprinted on any,
I don't have an applause button. I wish I had an applause button right now. Because we talk about that on this show all the time. The fact of you are responsible for every vibration that you drag into a room. And once you're aware of that, it really changes your awareness to the world around you and your place within it.
And may I scare your listener?
Oh, God, please.
Because it's not only, it's more than that. It's the building material for your next reincarnation. So this oxygen, not only you're breathing, I'm breathing, and my heart algorithm can only kindle me to the bricks I exhaled for construction to reconstruct me. So if I'm inflamed through my carbon and
your next incarnation will start inflamed
immediately in the next inhale.
Yeah.
Through this inversive canal.
Yeah, you're starting off contaminated. Wow. And that's an amazing and beautiful concept to once again know that you are reborn with every breath, that you have a new chance. I mean, it even says right here, like a redemption tool is one of the last points. And it's the fact of we carry so much with us. And willingly so.
Yeah.
Willingly so, Yaw.
Yeah.
We choose this. And that's a concept that I bring up all the time, is the fact that at any point you can revoke your consent from that system. You can choose whether or not to give that negative energy to something. It costs you more energy to give negative energy than it does to actively not care.
Your listeners are lucky today, I tell you. Your listeners are lucky today.
90% of it, folks, much like your body going on without you, like Yaw says, we have control of that exhale. Try controlling the inhale and see how long your body lets you do that. Eventually, it's going to gasp and go, no, dude, you're awake, breathe.
Exactly.
It's going to make you do that.
Yes, because you're a resolver of karma that the cosmos needs to untangle itself from. So, cosmos needs you with your authentic nature as much as you need the next inhale.
That's right.
So it's an interplay.
It is.
And if I may go back to one of the points you
Please.
made, you referenced that you're reborn, but I wanna properly go back and say it's more like a reincarnation.
Sure.
Because you connect to the state of existence where you had never even born yet.
And you're bringing information in with you as
You're
well.
You're awaking to the information that is already you.
Yeah, precisely. And that is remarkable thinking, and really, really beautiful, and a great way to give people that mindfulness. That I think that's what is missing a lot. We have a very harried society, y'all. We didn't used to be that way. All of 100 years ago, we were not that way. 50 years ago, we were not that way. It's hard for us. Our brains learn more from negative reinforcement than positive reinforcement. We'll learn faster that fire burns you than you will to build a fire to keep warm and make food. So it's hard for us not to dwell on the negative.
Yes, but you know what? I wanna invite your listeners to beyond all of that, beyond polarity, because at this point, what I'm here to tell you, nothing compares to this immovable piece. Meaning what? Meaning the photon, who is in movement with its neutrons and electrons and protons all in a proper motion, searching for actualization, the path of crystallization, the path of complexification of atom is what has brought us here. And this complexification is being led by omega, so to speak, is one way to put it, meaning there's an omega force pulling this path of atom towards complexification. And through this complexification, I stand here, I sit here and talk to you, and I'm here to tell you that I've come as a photon, as a moving photon, emanating light and continuing to emanate and dispense energy and move away from my source. This is demonic. This is actually satanic in comparison to the intensity of returning to my immovable peace, where the neutron is actually enjoys a cosmic intoxication at the local bar of its wherever it is, without any more movement. So the new agenda for our consciousness, the new food, so to speak, that our inner consciousness wants to be served is the food of immovable peace. I go as far as saying on the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo tried to say that he showed an image of man who is a photon, who never is sitting down, who's supposed to have a momentum of a constant movement, is positioned as an immovable being, as an immovable. So a human has uses active force to bring himself to this immovable, passive force. And that is where the creative force emanates out of yourself. The background of God supposedly creating Adam is a brain. And the brain background facilitates that the the only creative force is within as well. So how to access that is put your active force towards your most passive state of existence, and suddenly you will see an impulsion of your multi-existence, your accessibility to multiverse through that liquid, immovable piece. Wow. Or that, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you for that. Wow.
It's a revolutionary form of thought. It's a revolutionary form of thinking. Not many people are willing to take the time in our modern society, sadly enough, to slow down, to unplug, to get away. It's hard. We, as vibrational beings to begin with, are swathed with vibration. It used to be all of 50, 60 years ago, we had one really big form of vibration. We had the sun like 100 years ago. That's it. Now we have everything from our phone to lights to electricity. Everything around us is humming and buzzing in some way. So to be able to find your own frequency, to be able to find your own calm amidst all that can be very, very hard, Yaw.
Yes,
it can be very hard.
It's very hard if you're trying to do it with the brain that you currently have, that we currently possess, and with the tools that we currently are using. Because the mind that uses time and space to get to an immovable piece is not equipped to ever experience immovable peace. The mind that will connect to the immovable piece is a mind that is no longer is denying time and space. Because the immovable piece is exactly where you are. Whatever you are, because you become completely a mirror, you become Yaw. You become, as I am Yaw, you become Yaw. And in that, your interrelatedness based on your to the surrounding, every particle, every atom, every wall, every gesture, every molecule is then suddenly casts its light on your canvas of emptiness. Suddenly you are projecting the truth of yourself as you are emanating outside and being experienced through that resonance outside of your physical limitation. And then suddenly you realize, oh, I'm an immovable piece. I don't need to go nowhere. I'm being moved by the isness. Look at me. Wow. And I'm dying every time I'm being moved. So I am move. I'm no longer in movement. Previously, I was in movement. I was lifting my legs, stepping one, and I'm part of the matrix. And every time I'm actually adding to the matrix, I'm adding karma. But suddenly, the intensity of this photon returning to this immovable piece where I am the move becomes tangible. I'm not selling you a book, although I have a book published in Japan. It's a poetry book. You can go to journalinglove.com. So I'm not selling a philosophy. I'm not, telling you go read a book or go
come to my workshop or anything like that.
Just connect to your exhale. It's there.
And once again, an incredible truth to share, Yaw. I overheard you talking about it a while ago. I saw you at your booth, and I was like, I've got to learn more about this. And then we talked, and I was like, well, I've definitely got to have you on the show, because once again, it's an incredible form of thought. It's an incredible way of thinking to connect yourself to the world around you and to yourself and your future self all at the same time. Let everybody know where they can go to learn more about Carbonic Truth, where they can go to learn more about this, and where they can go to get in touch with you, Yaw.
Thank you so much. This information, was released 2 months ago, so it's in the development. But certainly, we have a website. It's Carbon Certainty or ccertainty.com. Either way, carboncertainty.com or ccertainty.com. But also, you can follow hashtag immovable peace. You can also follow hashtag Diamond Biovehicle. You can claim to be those things. You can claim. These are, the reasons I developed like these, I should say, the reason these hashtags were waiting for emanation through this particular entity is your viewers. Is that. So for that, with the intensity that has been bestowed, I invite all of you viewers to visit their immovable peace lake in this no man's land, and in fact, stay there for a while. See what emanates on the surface of that water. Because if you go to that immovable lake, you will see on that liquid light of that particular lake, it reflects allness. It reflects all the stars that has ever passed, because the inversive water will keep the memory of it. All the depth of this water in the lake, the rocks, the thing, every light that ever shone under it is there as liquid light, unactualized. This is your lake. The intensity of you wanting to go to that lake is bestowed. The energy for you to go that day, you don't need to stop at a gas station. Yeah. It's bestowed. It's like your phone that runs out of battery, but 911 works somehow. Why?
Yeah.
Because it's just programmed that way.
Yeah, it's programmed to always have that percentage to be able to use for that. And we are programmed in so many ways. Yeah. And once again, our layer of consent allows us to be programmed in horrible, horrible ways by the world around us. And unfortunately, those ways become normalized. Yeah. And that becomes the norm, and that becomes our expectation now. Yeah. And we can change that. We can change that. And with every exhale. With every exhale, we can change that.
And thank you, and thanks your I thank your viewers, because every time they try to manifest an immovable piece during the exhale, this is the only way you can hack the human frequency, because we are a radio. We're not that particular classic music called human existence or human frequency. We are the radio. How to upgrade yourself from that particular program on the radio to the radio itself?
Well, we are a receiver. You just have to learn to tune the receiver, because otherwise you're going to get a bunch of static.
You don't want that.
That's what it is. You got to learn that fine-tune knob that used to exist on a radio, where it's like, oh, there it is, and it got rid of all the static. So, thank you so much for coming on. It was more than a pleasure. Once again, look right there at our audience. Let them know where they can go to find out more about Carbonic Truth.
The first thing is to know the truth always illuminates in front of you. So without you going anywhere, you already know the truth is right in front of your eyes. Don't be the fish who's looking for the sea because you can't see the allness of what is in front of you. So number one, the truth is right in front of you. And if it happens to kindle you in a way that is carbonic, and you want to connect to this idea of we are gas before we are human frequency, then you can go to Carbon Certainty, you can go to ccertainty.com or #immovable peace. You'll have more of these talks. So we're expanding this to every which way. If you are interested to collaborate with us, we are collaborating with sports people in golf. We are collaborating with app developers for softwares that is going to help these ideas. So we welcome collaborators as well.
Well, fantastic. Beautifully said, Yaw. Thank you so much for your time.
Care,
While you are online checking out everything about Carbonic Truth at ccertainty.com or carboncertainty.com, make sure to stop on by curiousrealm.com. That is our website. That's where you can find our store at curiousrealm.com/store. Do not forget about the Knowledge Vault there, where you can find all kinds of declassified government documents, archives, things like that. Stay tuned through this commercial break. When we come back, we will have more coverage from the expo floor here at Psifest 2023 in Charlottesville, Virginia. We'll be right back after this.